Kevin Kilbane, one last time. How the hell are you?
I'm very good, Ger. Emotional after last night. I think that's the only way to describe it, eh?
Yeah, everybody's a bit strung out. It's a lot to deal with, you know? I'm crying at the Christmas ads.
I know. Honestly, Ger, I don't know. You'll probably never be able to pick up the footage. So it comes back into studio last night. So they're still running over the pictures, and it comes back in. And I'd see Messi, and honest to God, I really started to cry. I was like welling up watching the pictures of Messi crying. He was hugging someone, and my voice starts to go, and I'm waffling trying to say how great this game was and what a moment it is for Messi. And I could hardly talk. I was literally crying. And in the studio, and the lads like kind of looking at me either side going, is this guy for real or what? What's going on here? I couldn't help it. It was just unbelievable stuff, really.
Why do you think that was?
I don't know. I think I'm just getting old and soft, Jer. I think that's what it is. I do find myself crying an awful lot now at some of the most stupid stuff. If I see an ad on TV, half the time I'm crying, like maybe what you were saying there. I do. I was watching. I was watching something just before I came over here. Most of the lads who I'm working with here at TSN, they came over a week early and they did the squad reveal, the roster reveal on the show. So there's a lot of backstories with the Canada team. And one of the guys' dad was on, and his dad was from Ghana, and his dad's dream was to play for Ghana as a kid. And he had to move to Canada, the backstory was, and he had to leave the kids back in Ghana and work here and send money back home before he could get his wife and the kids over here. It was Richard Larea, actually, a lad who signed for Forest last year. He's still a Forest player, but he went back to Toronto. And then he starts to well up about his son's actually going to a World Cup because they announced the squad and they were talking to his dad at the same time. It was like his dad announced his son was going to the World Cup. It's the most emotional thing ever. I'm watching it. I was literally just crying my eyes out in the house before I went over to Qatar. So this is the sort of stuff that I'm like getting really emotional with now. I just think I'm just getting old and soppy, Jer. I think that's what it is.
But Messi as well, bringing it all right back round. It's like it did feel like the end. He says he wants to continue, and it doesn't really matter if he continues or not. But
yeah,
for him to perform at the level that he performed at, which wasn't perfect, right? There was it wasn't single-handedly winning the game for them. It needed a whole team effort.
Yeah.
But for the team to be able to lift him up at the moment that they needed to do, for them to find that as well, it's kind of perfect.
Yeah, it is. I think throughout the tournament, I think it is fair to say that without Messi, Argentina probably wouldn't have been anywhere near winning the tournament. But in the final, it was the water carriers, or whatever you want to say, that worked, that scrapped, that fought, that actually showed a bit more quality than we'd seen throughout the tournament for that first 70 minutes last night as well, because they were actually excellent, certainly for the first hour, weren't they? They were great. And then Messi just has these fleeting moments in the game where it is mesmerising. And of course, he gave the ball away for the second goal. And once Mbappe equalises, he's just stood there on the pitch, he's smiling to himself. And, if that's anybody else who was laughing for giving the ball away, can you imagine what everyone would have been saying? He'd given the ball away and he's laughing. But it was just that type of game, that type of night where, I don't know, whether people say it's destiny or whatever it would be, you just felt something was going to happen. And that's what's happened in this World Cup. Just strange things have happened in so many games and just never feel like it's done, do you? And that's certainly what you felt like watching it, even at half-time, 50 minutes into the game, when you're thinking Argentina are cruising here, they've got this one in the bag.
Did you think at half-time, Kev, there was any chance of what happened happening?
No, not at all. And, we'd spoken just before the final about the virus that France had. They looked gassed, didn't they? They had no energy. They were showing nothing. Was it 64 minutes before they even had a touch in Argentina's penalty area? It was something like that. First shot on 70 minutes. It was just, that's the first shot at goal, not even on target. So they had nothing. They had no cohesion like they were showing. They looked like they lacked any sort of discipline in the shape of the team. Argentina were just overrunning them. So I could not see France lifting the level. And then Mbappe just came to life. And then extra time, Mbappe was just incredible, wasn't he? What an unbelievable performance he put in. And, you guys have obviously spoken about it this morning, but scoring a hat-trick and not winning a World Cup final, it's just freakish stuff, isn't it?
What does he deserve out of 10 for his performance? We've been kind of having this chat this morning.
Yeah, what would L'Équipe give him this morning?
Column's take was that he deserved, 7?
They give him an 8, I think.
They gave him an 8 in L'Équipe.
They give him an 8. You can't say he deserved a 7 because of, like, I know he was really poor, maybe, as I said, for an hour, 70 minutes, but his extra time performance, and Kingsley Coleman come on and just changed the game.
Keep giving him a 9.
We'll keep giving him a 9. Sorry.
Yeah.
Colin said he didn't give him a 7 either, to be fair.
Did he not? He's even to backtrack now. It's typical Colin, isn't it? But no, but it has to be up there with a 9. He scored a 9. Yeah, sorry, he scored a hat trick in a World Cup final. It's got to be a 9 or a 10, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think a hat trick in a World Cup final, it's like a 10. It is. It's really. Even if you're shite, you're still getting a 10 because he scored a hat trick in a World Cup final.
Agreed.
I know. That's it. That's exactly what I think too.
The quality that the Argentine players showed in that first hour was excellent. It really was, and I think part of that. So, part of France being really poor, I actually would give much more credit to Argentina.
I agree. For that. Yeah, I think that's. No, I think that's fair, Ger. I do. We'd watched a lot of games. We'd all watched a lot of the Argentina games, and the Paul, the way he was running around. I mean, I'd said it to you in the week. Even Fernandez got young player of the tournament last night, and that's a joke because he was not the young player of the tournament, was he? That we have to put that out there now. He had a decent game last night, probably his best game, but we hadn't seen enough quality from him. I know he scored that brilliant goal against Mexico, but there were times when he was very poor in possession, but it was about the work rate of getting the ball to Messi. De Paul, as they said, so many errors, I think, throughout by various people. Otamendi, who actually had a nightmare in letting France back into the game last night, actually had a great tournament. He had a brilliant tournament, Otamendi, and I never saw that coming from anywhere. And last night, he was back to the Otamendi that we probably know and love over the years. But I think it's right, Ger. I think a lot of credit has to be for what Argentina did to stop France and how they played. Acuna was brilliant as well when he come on, wasn't he? And things like that. There was so many backstories, I think, throughout within that side. The work rate up front from Alvarez, it was just extraordinary, the level that they got to. And then when France got that second goal, they looked dead on the feet. They looked knackered. They were gone. And they were still doing special things. Messi was still doing special things, even though he was just walking half the time through that last, probably, certainly during extra time, but certainly for the last 10 or 15 minutes of normal time, Messi looked gassed.
How did you feel, Kate? Like those last few minutes of extra time when you have the Kolo Muani chance save by Martinez, you have the header then from Lautaro Martinez, which was just brutal. But like it all happens. Like I thought I was going to have a cardiac arrest. Yeah. I'm in the prime of my life. I don't know how you lads felt.
Oh, I'm not in the prime of my life anymore, Shane, and I felt exactly the same thing. I mean, is that the greatest save of all time? That save from Martinez, just for what was happening
with the context,
in the game,
maybe, yeah.
The context of it all, and I wouldn't be one that would be great on goalkeepers half the time, but and you know, at times he's made mistakes. At Martinez, he's not been great at times, but he's made big saves in penalty shootouts. He gets the goalkeeper of the tournament. Again, he wasn't. Livakovic from Croatia was outstanding, I felt, throughout. He should have been the goalie of the tournament, and so should Gvardiol been the young player as well, in my opinion. But that, they did it in that big final, on that big stage, and maybe going back to what Ger's saying earlier with Mbappe, he's done it in a World Cup final, so you give him a 10, regardless of how they've played throughout. And I think, all these guys that we're speaking about here, and Martinez making that big save, it was just watching it, Shane, I was up and down through the whole 20 minutes to go when it looked like the game was dead. I couldn't stand still. I couldn't sit still, should I say. I was up, down. I was moving around. I was getting stressed. My palms were getting sweaty. And for all that I remember, as I said earlier on when I've been on the show with you, look, Maradona in '86 was my first real World Cup memory, and I remember it now. Surely to God, every kid that watched that game last night is going to remember this game for the rest of their lives, and it's got to have an effect on them. It has to, because of what happened.
I think there's a lot of that in it too. It's a year since Maradona died, and Messi crowning the career that we've watched for the last 17 years, 18 years since he's been a kid. For him to get the fulfillment in the last moment, literally the very last second at the end of the tournament, there's too much emotion. And it's Christmas time.
I know.
It's like, it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with.
I'm away from home, Ger. I'm missing the family. There's a lot to deal with here going on. I've been away for a long time, and the stress of it all, Jesus. I've not been able to get out and even have a drink too much. There's been a lot of stress going on in my life, Ger,
Yeah.
It probably was. And then you know what? And I have to say this. Then for the ceremony, the presentation ceremony, the way that it was, to be ruined. Infantino, as anybody else just screaming at the screen, get off the TV,
Oh
get away
yes,
from it all,
yeah.
because it was an absolute joke, wasn't it? And I'm watching him going, oh my God, if anyone's going to ruin it, it's you. You've just ruined this perfection for 120 minutes. It was just perfection in the tournament half the time. And I was actually talking to the guys here as well. A lot of the guys around us, the crew and everything, have got a lot more experience of North American sports and things like that. And I was going, he should not be giving the trophy out. There's no way Infantino. They went, well, who else is there? You know, he's the president. He's got to give it out. The MLS guy, Don Garber, he gives it out. And I couldn't really remember, to be honest with you. They were saying, even in the NFL, that the president or the commissioner,
Yeah.
He sometimes even gives the trophy to the owner of the franchise without even giving it to the players. You know,
always the owner.
I mean,
yeah.
That is an absolute joke, isn't it? And I didn't know this. I honestly didn't know this. I've probably not been around enough to maybe, if I've watched the Super Bowl, to really watch the ceremony properly. And I'm watching this, and I mean, if ever there's a moment to make it all about me, that's what Infantino did last night. And if he can't be aware enough to realise how bad he looked on TV last night, God, I was screaming at the TV, get off the TV, you. Honest to God, he was just a joke, wasn't he?
Yeah, and here's the good thing though, none of the papers have him in any of the photographs. So when the press clippings come in today to the office, and show me how great I look. He's not in any of them. It's all Messi. It's all Messi kissing the cup and then hoisted on the shoulders the same way that Maradona was on the field afterwards in Mexico in '86.
And you'd hope that every picture now, the legacy, of course, from this World Cup will be Lionel Messi. That all the footage that we see will always be of Messi with his teammates lifting the cup and holding it round his kids and whatever, being put on the shoulders of Sergio Aguero, being carried around the pitch, whatever. This is what we want the pictures to be and the footage to be, not Infantino, trying to even get onto camera as long as possible while he was pushing Messi towards his teammates to lift the trophy. It was just, if ever you want to steal a moment, oh my God.
What else is going to stand out for you as a memory of this World Cup?
I don't think we're going to get. I don't think we'll ever get away from. My memory of being here will be. I think I'd said it to you. It was hard at first when I arrived, to get a full feeling of the place and things like that. But probably the feeling of why was the World Cup here? People can talk about the football and things like that. That's what they can say to me. But there is a feeling of, construction finishes here and you've got guys and you're speaking to guys. Even last night, we actually met a Canadian guy last night going to the game and got speaking to him on the train. And he goes, oh, TSN, how are you getting on with the T-shirt? So not that we want to actually show ourselves off when we're floating around the place, But anyway, the guy he's a Canadian guy and he's over here. He's been here since last January. And he said, he's got a decent job, but he's the Qatari, his company that he works for, is taking his passport off him. Can't get home for Christmas. He can't get home till next June. He'll be gone 18 months. And he said, honestly, he goes, I just wanted to say to you, he said, my wife and kids are at home. They're watching TSN. They can actually see where I'm here. So I'm really thankful that you're doing the broadcast and the guys are seeing, or my family's been able to see what Qatar is like, because I'm over here now without being able to get home until next June. I've been here a long time. I'm missing home. I'm missing my family. And this is the story across Qatar. People come in, they have the passports taken off them. As I said, construction closed down during this World Cup because they didn't want it to be visible during the tournament. And most of the people that's in construction are Uber drivers now, and you get speaking to the Uber drivers across the whole of Asia. I got speaking to a guy from Nepal a while ago, or in the last week or so. Again, he was telling me the same sort of story. I get 2 months off a year. I can't afford to go on several flights across the year to get back home, so I have to use it as a 2-month block. I've got to go, so he's only getting 2 flights. He said, and I feel like I'm missing out so much on my family, and I'm missing out so much on my kids growing up. He has 3 kids, 2 daughters and one boy. He's missing out on his son even playing football at times and things like this. And the human side of it really hits you when you hear, that the gulf between rich and poor is so vast. People call them the workers here, the workers. They're just kind of like these bits on the bottom of your shoe that are just here just to serve everybody around the World Cup. And you can't get away from that, and how dehumanized so many people actually are, Ger. It's not been a good look, I don't think, for FIFA overall. of course, we want to concentrate on the football while we're here, but how can you fully become focused on that when all this crap is happening around you and all this stuff that you can actually see because it's visible? It's you're having these conversations with people when you're out and about, and you know full well what actually happens here and what the people are feeling like.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting period of time with the takeover of Newcastle by Saudi Arabia, that the English media is talking about Saudi Arabia and their human rights issues. And just this week, the news broke that the Glazers are in Qatar having conversations with people in the region about investment in Manchester United. So we're going to see Newcastle get taken over. There's a good chance we see Manchester United get taken over. And hopefully the experience of the football journalists who've been at the World Cup telling the stories of the people that you're talking about, because that's the, like, the football is obviously today and it's messy. Tomorrow there's going to be all the journalists home free to actually say some of the things that it's difficult for them, or they feel a little bit threatened to say on the ground in Qatar.
Yeah, exactly. Again, it's the takeaway from the tournament is, I think most people will say the lasting legacy will be what's happened on the pitch, because we've had some unbelievable moments, but ultimately the lasting legacy will be maybe the stain on FIFA. I'm sure you guys watched the documentary around the award of it coming to Qatar and everything like that. It was amazing in itself when I watched that before I came over, just to see what happens. That in fairness now Europe is almost like an entity to FIFA, to world football, because it's no real power in regards to anything that's happening around the world and within the game. So maybe, as you say, there's even talk of 2030, the World Cup being here, being in Saudi, and for what's happened here in Qatar, and they'll think the Winter World Cup was a success. Sure, why won't we have it in Saudi Arabia as well? You can see it all happening, can't you? It's almost, it happens before your eyes before it does, because that's what happened with the awarding of the World Cup coming out here, and to Russia as well. Don't forget. It happened before our eyes, and you're watching disbelief, but you preempt it. You know what's around the corner almost.
Kev, it's been great having you on OTB AM. It's been
It's been emotional. Kev. Don't start crying out on us, please.
No, I won't give it to you. It's going to be emotional. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting home now, guys. No, but I'll hopefully be on. Of course, I'll be on again with you guys, and hopefully maybe we can do it a bit more regular or something. Anyway,
when are you actually flying out?
I'm flying out tonight. Well, it's the early hours. I think it's just after midnight tonight. So what time is it here now? It's 11:30. So 13 hours or so. I'll be on the flight, and making up the time. I think I arrived back in Toronto 8 a.m. local time. So we'll make up a bit of time for the flight flying back to the west. So I can't wait to get home now, really.
Well, safe home. Privilege talking to you as regularly as we have done, and I'm really looking forward to doing it again. Cheers.
Lovely. Thanks, Ger. Thanks, Shane. Thanks very much for everything. Thank you.
It's Kevin Kilbane with us live from Doha for the last time this morning.